the age of 7, my life turned upside down when a seemingly innocent trip with my mom turned into a nightmare. My name is Isabella Rodriguez, and I was forced to live in the wilderness, given punishments that got more and more severe, and was told that if I ever revealed the truth, they would kill me. It all started in 2003, when my parents split up. My mom moved to Costa Rica. I stayed in Newark with my dad. For 2 years, the only communication I had with my mom was through phone calls. And every time, she asked me to visit her, with my dad rejecting the idea. Eventually, though, in the summer of 2005, she somehow got my dad to agree. He was hesitant, but enough time had passed since my mom had left, and it was just a round-trip ticket. 1 week circled on a calendar. Simple. When I landed in Costa Rica, I was beyond excited to see my mom again. But the first thing she did when I arrived wasn't a hug, it was a phone call. She put the cell in my hand and stood close enough to hear every breath. "Tell him you want to stay for good," she said, calm and practiced, like we were running lines. I called my dad and said exactly that. He paused and asked what was going on. Even back then, he could sense something was off, but my mom snatched the phone and started arguing with my dad. I don't fully remember what she said, but I remember her being angry. When she finally stopped, she came over to me, smiling at me and telling me she had a house prepared for us. Her house sat in a pocket of jungle stitched with chicken tracks and laundry lines, cinder block walls, tin roof, a hard dirt yard. She was already living with another man. "Just for now," she promised. "They're finishing the real house soon." She said it with the kind of confidence that makes you believe the future has already happened. For 2 weeks, it actually did feel like a vacation. Pancakes and bacon every morning, a toy car, a plastic watch. I told myself the jungle was an adventure. I told myself my mother's new life could hold me. Then the pancakes stopped. No fight, no warning. Just a morning with a metal cup of water that tasted like a pipe. Toys gone. "We sold them for the house," she said. "Better clothes vanished. You're growing anyway." Shoes got saved for town. Barefoot became default. Work slid into the empty spaces, hauling water from the drum to the kitchen, carrying wood, sweeping the yard into neat lines that the wind immediately erased. Following my stepfather into the trees at dawn to check traps. He showed me how to set a snare like it was a magic trick, then made me reset it until my thumbs throbbed. If I was slow, he yanked my wrist, hard enough to leave half moons from his nails. The jungle stuck to my skin. Mosquitoes wrote constellations on my legs. By noon, the yard shimmered. By night, the trees pressed close to the house and made their own weather. Inside, I learned new rules. Don't ask when we're moving. Don't leave the yard without telling someone. Don't say anything on the phone that isn't on the paper. Phone day came once a week. A list would appear, clean handwriting, bullet points, what I was supposed to tell my dad. "I'm happy, I'm safe. School starts soon." My mother hovered in the doorway, close enough for me to feel it. I was deathly afraid of messing up even a single word, because I knew I would be punished for it. The punishment started small. Do the chore again, eat last. Stand in the sun on the concrete step, then time out in the storage room with the door pulled mostly shut. The day I broke a plate, my stepfather made me pick up the shards with my fingers. When I bled, he shook his head like I'd done it to spite him, and made me wash the floor so the blood wouldn't attract things. On worse days, time out became the storage room, with the door latched and the light off, long enough for the air to go stale. Once, after I used the wrong word on the phone, they left me on the step in the noon sun until my scalp felt like it was shrinking, then brought me in and told me to be grateful for shade. Another night they locked me out under the eaves with the mosquitoes until I remembered how to say thank you. I learned to make my face plain, to choose words like I was picking my way across broken glass. I still had my weekly call with my dad. I learned to talk under the script. I'd mentioned the guava tree with bark that peeled like paper, how the sky turned hard white by noon, that the bus only came on Tuesdays. Little postcards folded into small talk. Just enough map to live beneath their radar. I didn't know if he could hear the breadcrumbs or only the smile I'd practiced in the mirror. But every night as I went to sleep, I imagined my dad coming in to rescue me. And then one day, that finally happened. A truck with plates I didn't recognize rolled up to the gate. 2 people stepped out, one local, one who spoke my kind of English. They didn't rush. They said my mother's first name like they already knew it, said mine like a question and then a fact, and held up paper that made the room go still. Inside, the woman asked me my full name, my dad's, the Newark school I used to attend. I answered like stepping stones across a creek. Then she asked the only question that mattered, did I want to go back home? After lying about being happy for months as a way of protecting myself, I had forgotten what it was like to say the truth. To admit what was going on was not okay. But in that moment, I realized I had to speak up, to make all of this end. So I said, I want to go back home. The look on my mom's face was of horror, like she was losing me all over again. We drove out. The jungle thinned. The road widened. At the office in the city, the air conditioning hummed and the water tasted like nothing, clean in a way I hadn't felt in months. When my dad's voice finally reached me, steady on the line, I burst into tears. I had talked to him weekly for months, but this time felt different. Newark was noisy in the right way. Sirens in the distance, buses sighing at corners, kids shouting across blacktop, sound that meant people, neighbors, routine. My dad went into lockdown mode. No sleepovers, no last-minute field trips. He double-checked the door twice and then checked it again. If I was 5 minutes late, his voice climbed an octave. Hypervigilance became our second language. As I got older, I could see what sat under it. Blame. He kept replaying the moment he'd trusted my mom, despite knowing how she was like. He carried it like a stone in his pocket. I wish he didn't, because as hard as that year was, I won't let it be my title page. It's a chapter I've read enough times to know where the scary parts are, and to keep turning the pages anyway. Years later, my dad and I are doing much better. I haven't heard from my mom in forever, and I'd like to keep it that way. Because of her, I learned the difference between a promise and a plan, between a welcome and a trap, between help and a hand on your neck. I learned that I can love someone and still leave them, and that's exactly what I did. If you know someone who's going through a tough time, please share this story with them to let them know there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Subscribe for more survivor stories, and if you have a story, reach out. We're here to listen.